guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, then my name's Sarah. I make videos every single week all about acne and ways to get rid of it. So what I've done today is put together the ultimate guide to surviving Accutane, or Accutane as it's known in some countries. I've written a list here, so I'm going to run through everything that I learned in that time and things that I would suggest you do if you are taking the drug at the moment. So I've put together my top 10 kind of areas of things to kind of think about whilst you're on the drug, and tips and tricks and things that I've done that definitely helped the Accutane experience run a lot more smoothly. So number one is your lips. If you have Googled anything to do with Accutane, you will discover that your lips get insanely dry while you're on the drug, to the point where they will crack, they will bleed, and they will be painful. But I did manage to find a few ways around this. So the first thing that I would suggest is that obviously you need to be drinking a lot of water while you're on Accutane so that you don't get dehydrated. But the problem comes with constantly drinking water and constantly drying out your lips in the process. So, I mean, if you're putting on lip balm all day and then drinking lots of water, the lip balm gets wiped off, and I was definitely feeling that. So what I decided to do was just carry a straw with me at all times. And this really helped, because if I was sitting at my desk at work and I was constantly drinking water, I wouldn't have to keep reapplying lip balm because that layer would still be on there and I would just drink through a straw. The second tip I've got for you is using Balm. So what I found when I was on Accutane is that the corners of my mouth would really kind of crack. It was really painful, and I think actually it happens to people who aren't on Accutane as well, and it's actually called something, which I might insert here. So if you're suffering with this whilst you're on Accutane, then I really suggest using Balm. So I think it's by a brand called Dr. Dan. I haven't got it on me because I managed to use up the entire thing whilst I was on Accutane. But yeah, I'll insert a picture of it here so you can have a look. But the actual main ingredient of this is hydrocortisone. I think that's how you say it. And basically what this will do is heal the skin, and actually it is a steroid, so I would use it kind of lightly. I wouldn't use it all day every day, but I definitely managed to get rid of kind of chapped lips and really painful skin around my lips by using that in the morning and before I went to bed. Number 3 is obviously you need to use a lip balm at all times. So do not leave the house without a lip balm. Do not even think about running to the shops without lip balm. You're going to need it. The one that I really liked actually was Aquaphor. And it wasn't actually the lip balm, it was actually just like the ointment, if you like. So I think it was much like Vaseline really, in a sense that it was the same sort of texture, but it just managed to stay on my skin a hell of a lot longer than just using standard Vaseline. So I used to actually have to order this into Boots, because in the UK it wasn't just on the shelves, but Boots do stock it. So I would order it online and then go in and collect it. So that would last me, I think I got through one of those probably on average a month, sometimes a little bit more towards the end of my course because my lips were super dry. But yeah, I averaged one of those a month. Other lip balms that I tried that didn't work were just your standard kind of chapsticks. They just were not moisturising enough. If you were going to put that on, about a second later your lips would still feel as painful and dry. And for me, of course, like the sight of having really sore lips is horrible, but the feeling is just so much worse. So I would definitely make sure you've got something that's really thick that you can kind of layer over your lips, to make sure that you don't kind of crack them and break them, particularly like when you wake up in the morning and you yawn. That was the worst. So making sure you have something by the side of your bed to apply as soon as you wake up is essential. So the second area I wanted to discuss is dehydration, because when you're on Accutane, you are constantly thirsty. So you need to carry around water wherever you go. I've made the mistake a few times of going into meetings with that water and honestly not being able to concentrate because I was so thirsty. So yeah, having a bottle of water on you at all times is 100% essential. You need to do that. The second thing I'd say for dehydration is not taking like super hot baths. I'm not a huge fan of doing that in the winter, and I took the drug, as I said, throughout the winter. But yeah, avoiding really hot baths. I found that whenever I did that, my skin wouldn't be as dehydrated and I wouldn't feel so dehydrated, because if you're putting yourself through any kind of like hot, intense heat, you will come out feeling very lightheaded, and that was 10 times worse whilst I was on the drug. I also decided every now and then to take rehydration salts. So I used to just have these around for when I was hungover, to be quite honest with you, but they are actually really helpful if you're on Accutane. Diarrhea are the ones that I used. They're a UK brand, I think, but I'm sure you can find equivalents wherever you are. So yeah, I used to take these usually sort of in the morning if I woke up and felt I hadn't drank enough water the day before and I could really feel it. That would kind of sort me out for the day. I would also look at putting kind of pink Himalayan salt, which has lots of like good minerals and ways to rehydrate you into my water each day. So I would usually do this with my evening meal, and that would just kind of rehydrate me for the evening. So the two things not to do to keep yourself hydrated is do not drink alcohol. I know that they say this to you when you go on the drug, but I really want to reiterate that, because I did make the mistake of having just like one glass, I think it was one glass of champagne when it was at Christmas, and I think I had a glass, like a gin and tonic on my birthday, and this might sound crazy, but just having that one drink completely made me dehydrated and made me feel really sick and gave me a headache. Which I know sounds crazy, but it's true. I think if you are going to go down the route of drinking, really make sure it is just the one drink and it is like an occasion where you feel like you can't miss out. But otherwise, just stay clear of it. There's really no need to be drinking when you're on this drug. You will not benefit from it at all. I also avoided drinking caffeine whilst I was on Accutane. I know that this is going to be super hard for most of you coffee and tea lovers. But yeah, I found that I was having a coffee every single day before I went on Accutane, but I decided to rule that out just because I know how dehydrated that can make me during the day anyway, and I just didn't want to run the risk of actually feeling even worse, particularly being at work or just being out and about. I just ruled that out and stuck to decaf. So the third area is dry skin. So I think this is going to be the one that everybody is going to suffer with, no matter who you are. You're going to get dry skin. And when I'm saying dry skin, I'm not talking about being a little bit dry, I'm talking about scaly. Like, it is the worst dryness you've ever felt. And particularly if you're someone like me who actually suffered with oily skin before I went on the drug, it is like a transformation. I had never even had to think about dry skin in my life until I went on Accutane, and all of a sudden you basically have to do like a 180 on your skincare regime. So instead of using really like light gels and moisturizers that are like basically there to somewhat hydrate your skin, you need to kind of throw those out and start fresh, because you're going to need something super moisturizing. So I would advise that your moisturizers are unscented, mainly because you don't want to be irritating your skin whilst you're on this drug. You're trying to clear your acne, so you don't want to do anything that's going to irritate it. I use brands like Cetaphil. I use the Cetaphil Day Cream. I think it's the super thick one, not the sort of lotion. I did try the lotion, but I found that to be basically ineffective. So the face wash that I was using when I went on to Accutane was just a super gentle one by Cetaphil. And in fact it says, yeah, gentle skin cleanser for dry sensitive skin. I was actually using this before I went on Accutane, and I still use it today because I think it's perfect. It does exactly the right job. It doesn't irritate the skin and just cleanses your face. So there were times on the drug where my skin was super scaly and it was almost embarrassing to go out. So I kind of came up with a game plan for that. And what I did is I'd sit at home for sort of 3 or 4 hours just layering on moisturiser until it had really soaked in. So not just your average bit of moisturiser, but literally like almost like a face mask. And then what I would do is I would go into the shower with a muslin cloth and I would gently just kind of buff away any of the really dry scaly skin. And when I came out, I would then apply the moisturiser again. And usually speaking, if I did that on a Sunday, my skin would be okay when I woke up the Monday after. So I'd really recommend doing that if you are feeling like, what is my skin looking like? I can't go out. I literally look like a reptile. So the moisturiser that I used whilst on Accutane, and I still use now as well, is this one, which is the Avene Hydrance Optimal Rich Hydrating Cream. Which I have to say is amazing. I put this on as a night cream now, not a day cream, but whilst I was on Accutane, I used this at all times. It was super smooth on my skin, and it really worked, because I actually used one which was by La Roche-Posay in the beginning, which was a slightly thicker cream, and it did have an SPF in it, but I found even that really stung my skin, so I kind of threw that out and decided to start fresh, and this is the only one that I found that didn't give me kind of red irritated skin. And for my body, I would recommend just something really cheap that does the job, like this one, which is the Neutrogena Norwegian formula for dry skin. So yeah, it's just like a deep moisture lotion, which was great. So it really did the trick. Okay, so the fourth area I wanted to talk about is nosebleeds. Unfortunately, this is a side effect that I had quite a few times, and even after coming off the drug, I've still suffered with them. I even had one last month, and I've been off the drug 7 months now, so yeah, they're definitely a real thing. I'm not really entirely sure why they happen, but it has probably got a lot to do with thinning of the skin, and I found that when I would get nosebleeds, it would either be like if I sneezed. When I was at a water park one time in the summer, I went down one of the sort of like fast slides into the pool, and again came out of the pool and had a nosebleed. And then another time I had one was actually after I'd been on a plane. So I went to Poland to do a shoot at work, and once I arrived, I went to sleep, and when I woke up in the morning, yeah, full-on nosebleed again. I have found that all the nosebleeds that I've had, which haven't come from any of those sort of things, have been when I've been sleeping. So yeah, I'll kind of wake up in the middle of the night and realise that I was having a nosebleed, which was not fun at all. My ways of dealing with those things was, one, always having like an old towel like near your bed, because you don't want to obviously ruin your sheets and all your bedding. And also I would say making sure that when you go to sleep you actually moisturise your nose. So I would do this with like a cotton bud and a bit of Vaseline. Just swab that around your nose, just to make sure that you're keeping your nose hydrated just as much as you're keeping like your lips hydrated. So the next area I wanted to talk about is diet. So when you're on Accutane, you really want to make sure you're absorbing the drug as best as possible, because you really don't want to have to do this a second time if you don't have to. So the best way to do this is by taking your pill with a source of fat. So each Accutane tablet should be taken with a meal, but making sure that you are eating a high amount of fat with that meal is really, really important, because Accutane is actually taken, or is a derivative, of vitamin A. So it's like a synthetic version of vitamin A. And vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin. So in this case, you need to make sure to absorb that vitamin that you actually have a source of fat, so you can absorb it and your body can use that. So what I was doing is making sure that whenever I took my tablet, I would make sure I had either peanut butter, or I was eating it with my fattiest meal of the day. And actually, whilst I was doing this, I was making sure that the fat source that I was eating was super healthy at the same time. Along with eating a high amount of fat whilst I was on Accutane, I actually reduced the amount of like carbohydrates and sugar I was eating, because that would be spiking my blood sugar, and I knew that would have a knock-on effect negatively on my hormones, which is why I was on Accutane in the first place, because my hormones were out of whack and therefore it was giving me acne. So it kind of went hand in hand really. I was eating more fat so that I could absorb Accutane, but I was also eating more fat so that I could stop eating as many carbs and sort out my blood sugar problems, sort out my insulin problems, and balance my hormones. Okay, so section 6 is achy bones. And when I read up about this before I went on the drug, I really didn't believe some of the stories. I thought, honestly, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, I'll be absolutely fine. How wrong was I? Sometimes I would wake up in the morning and my chest would hurt. It literally makes you feel like an old lady or old man. You feel like all your bones really ache, your joints really ache, and quite honestly, there's not that many ways around this. It just is a side effect of being on the drug. Unfortunately, some people are affected by it more so than others. I think I was fairly lucky, but that's because I did a few things, including drinking enough water each day. I also made sure that I continued to exercise. I had heard people say that they avoided exercise whilst they were on the drug, just because the recovery time took longer and they felt like it hurt a lot more after they'd worked out. But actually, I think working out and making sure you're using your body and just continuing life as normal is the best thing to do. I would obviously bear in mind that there's probably better exercises to be doing, probably like Pilates and yoga, rather than, lifting heavy weights in the gym each day. But that being said, if that's what you already do, then I would just continue to do that, because you don't want to get into the habit of sort of feeling down on yourself because you're not doing your normal things. And if you like lifting heavy weights at the gym each day, then I think you should just continue to do that. Just bear in mind that you just need to treat your body a little bit more kindly and drink even more water than you already would be. So one way of keeping fit, which I think would be great if you're on Accutane, is swimming. Although I would probably avoid going to swimming pools, because obviously the chlorine in there is going to really dry you out, and I really wouldn't recommend that for any part of you, whether it be your skin, your nails, your hair. So yeah, avoiding kind of chlorinated pools is definitely something to do. However, if you're lucky enough to live by the sea, or you swim somewhere where there isn't chlorine, then I would really recommend that. I think that's a great way to keep fit whilst you're on this drug and isn't so stressful on your joints and your bones. Next one is sensitive skin. So yes, your skin is most likely to get really sensitive whilst you're on Accutane. And ways that I found to deal with this is mostly to avoid wearing makeup. I know that's going to be really, really tough if you've just gone on the drug and your acne is still really bad and you don't feel like you have any confidence leaving the house without it. But I would really recommend, if you can, then to avoid wearing it, because most of the time putting on a layer of foundation is only going to irritate your skin even more. And actually the process in applying foundation can be quite irritating. I know usually you'd put makeup on maybe with a brush or what have you and it would be fine, but when you're on Accutane, it really does feel quite sore and painful, and your skin gets super irritated just by putting a brush on your skin. So ways I found to deal with that if I did need to wear makeup is by making sure I had a beauty blender or a sponge to apply my foundation so that I wasn't kind of aggressively, not that I would aggressively, but I wasn't kind of aggravating my skin even more by using a brush and kind of buffering away the skin. So with sensitive skin, you also really need to baby your face, because even the slightest scratch would cause it to bleed. I know that sounds crazy, but your skin is really, really, really thin whilst you're on raw Accutane. So yeah, babying your skin and making sure that you're looking after it is essential. So one product that I had, which I don't have on me anymore because I used it all up whilst I was on raw Accutane, was called Cetraben. I'll put a picture up for it now, but this is the ointment rather than the cream. And I was actually recommended this by my dermatologist. She said if I was getting kind of dry, sensitive skin, then to put this in the areas where it was actually really sore. It's for people with psoriasis and eczema, and I found this to be really, really helpful, particularly again towards the end of my course. And yeah, it worked a miracle, to be honest. I'm so glad she recommended this to me. So I put this on areas that were really kind of red and flaky, and they would really smooth out after a couple of days. My next point with sensitive skin and being on raw Accutane is your skin is super sensitive to sunlight. So making sure that you've got a high SPF on at all times really, really is essential, especially if you live somewhere hot. I live in London and it was the winter, so I didn't have to think about this too much, but I have to admit that your skin does feel really sore, so I could not have imagined going out in the sun with my skin like that. Okay, so next point is your hair. So one of the great benefits of being a raw Accutane, and there really aren't that many apart from clear skin, is you don't need to wash your hair, like ever. Honestly, I went a week and I washed my hair after the week, and quite honestly, I probably could have left it longer. It's a bit gross, let's be honest, if you don't wash the kind of ends of your hair after a week of being out and about. But yeah, your body does not produce any oil whilst you're on this drug, and that goes for your scalp as well. That can lead to having quite a dry scalp. Luckily, I didn't suffer with that, but I know some people do. So the best thing to do is really, really look after your hair. Just like you're treating your skin with lots of moisturising products, do the same for your hair. So a product that I would really recommend if you are on raw Accutane for your hair is argan oil. So I had this one here, which I just ordered on Amazon. It can be used for your face, your body, or your hair, and it does a really, really good job of moisturising your hair. I would basically put a layer of this on before I washed my hair and leave it sit for about an hour or two, and then I'd wash it out and my hair would feel a lot stronger and smoother. I would also really recommend not blow drying or straightening your hair as much as possible, because your hair is going to get really damaged. I luckily have quite thick hair, but even whilst I was on raw Accutane, I could feel it really thinning out. Not to the point where I sort of had like bald patches, but it would feel a lot thinner and kind of brittle. So I would recommend using a product each week to really, really moisturise your hair. Same with your shampoo and conditioner, and to avoid anything that's going to dry out. If you do need to blow dry it or straighten it, definitely put a heat protector on so that your hair can be saved as much as possible. I also wanted to touch upon my colour as well, because I still wanted to highlight my hair whilst I was on raw Accutane. Luckily, my friend does my hair, so I could really kind of explain the situation to her. She really understood that I didn't want to have my scalp basically fall off, which is what I was terrified of happening. I thought it was going to be burnt and yeah, really, really sore and irritated. But thankfully, she made sure that she didn't touch any of the kind of peroxide or bleach on my scalp. It was just sort of at the tops of my hair, which is what they're meant to do anyway, but it was just being super careful not to have the bleach touch my scalp. So the next area I wanted to talk about are your eyes. For me, this is one of the worst side effects I had on Accutane. My eyes were really, really dry. Already, just without Accutane, they're super dry, so whilst I was on the drug, they were quite sore and quite painful. So I did go to my optician, and they recommended some gel eye drops, which I put in every morning and every evening. I want to say they helped, but I mean, to be quite honest with you, they mildly helped the symptoms for about an hour, and then my eyes would feel really dry again. The best way I found to relieve this and actually have like lasting effects was to get a hot cloth compress. So I'll get a muslin cloth, put it in really hot water, kind of wring it out, and then light across my eyes for probably about 15 minutes on each, and then you kind of wipe them away, and your eyes are relieved of the sort of painful, sort of dry, irritated feeling for probably a good couple of hours, which was great. I also did this when I started to feel a sty coming up. I'd never had a sty before, but apparently they're like a real thing. People are getting them all the time. But I actually had to Google what this was, because it just felt like a spot on my eye. Actually, it wasn't as bad as what some people have described styes as. Mine couldn't really be seen, but I could really feel kind of like a lump just sort of by my eyelash line, and it was really, really painful and took about a week to go away. But again, I felt like that really sped up once I started to use the hot cloth compress. So if you do get a sty whilst on raw Accutane, I'd really recommend doing that. Okay, so finally, the last little area is any kind of extras and things that I would like to point out. So the first thing I really think you should do if you are on Accutane is to get enough sleep, because like I explained earlier, you basically feel like an old lady while you're on the drug. Your bones hurt, everywhere aches, you feel constantly tired and dehydrated. So making sure you're looking after yourself and getting a full 8 hours sleep a night is definitely recommended. I would also suggest really making time for yourself. I feel like once you're on this drug, you can feel quite low. It doesn't feel like a great time. So making sure you're doing things that you're interested in and that you really enjoy doing, whether it be just sitting at home watching a movie or whether it's going out and seeing your friends. Making sure you do those things is really important so that you can kind of keep your morale high. You're doing this drug so that you can have clear skin, so that you can feel great when you come off it. So it's kind of putting those things into practice. And my final tip is not to sit around Googling Accutane side effects all day, every day, because let me tell you, I definitely did that, and all it will do is make you super paranoid. It will basically make you feel like you're going to be depressed, that all your hair's going to fall out, that you're never going to get rid of your acne, that your liver's going to fail, all these crazy side effects. None of them happened to me, and I have to say, from anyone else that I've spoken to who's been on that drug, didn't experience those side effects either, so they are rare cases. Please don't sit around getting paranoid, Googling for hours, different ways that Accutane can ruin your life, because honestly, it's one of the best things I've ever done for my skin, and I would highly recommend it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and please share this video if you think it could help somebody else. I make videos every week on acne, how I managed to cure my cystic acne, and what I'm doing today to kind of prevent acne coming back. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in my next one, supposedly. And I'm also taking the supplement, which is going to clear my skin. So I did that, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And I'll insert some photos here about how bad it was after about 3 or 4 months.